Hey, welcome to Firescale Audiobooks. If you enjoy our audiobooks, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, feel free to share your review in the comments section below.
He looked to be in his 40s and was over 180 in height. He looked very heroic. His temperament was very noble. Even the posture of holding the wine glass was very handsome. He was different from most of the people here. Out of curiosity, Xia Jinshi looked at him again. Who knew that this person was actually looking at Xia Jinshi too? Their eyes met. Xia Jinshi smiled politely at him. Just as she was about to leave, she saw that person actually walking toward her. "Hello, may I ask, have we met before?" The man's voice was deep and hoarse, with a mature charm that had been through many hardships. It sounded very comfortable. However, this line was a little awkward, too. This standard pickup line was said by a man in his 40s. He felt that something was strange. "Are you talking about me?" Xia Jinshi pointed at herself and smiled sheepishly. "Yes, I'm sorry, I've never seen you before." Xia Jinshi directly gave a negative answer. In the end, she was prepared to turn around and leave. She didn't know if this was a friend of her family or a friend of the Yin family, too. When a man heard Xia Jinshi's answer, he furrowed his brows even more tightly. "Strange, I really feel that you look very familiar. Where have I seen you before? Could it be Las Vegas, too?" Xia Jinshi originally thought that this might be a misunderstanding, but who knew that she actually heard the words Las Vegas, too? Something hidden deep in her mind was instantly awakened. She thought to herself that this was not good. Oh no, could it be that when she went to the casino previously, he happened to see her, too? No, her whereabouts must not be discovered by others. Calming herself down, Xia Jinshi quickly shook her head. "You must have remembered wrongly. I grew up in Rao City since I was young and have never gone out, too." But the man was still puzzled and could not help but look at Xia Jinshi a few more times. Such a peerless face was already unforgettable. He should not have remembered wrongly. Just as Xia Jinshi was about to escape, Yin Jun walked over. "Mr. Qi, do you know my wife, too?" As he spoke, Yin Jun very naturally grabbed Xia Jinshi's slender waist and pulled her into his arms. Xia Jinshi instinctively wanted to escape, but he increased the strength in his hands, pinching her until she felt some pain. Even so, she still quickly explained, "It's a misunderstanding, too." Even though saying this made it sound like there was no silver in this place, she really didn't want Yin Jun to find out anything. Chi Maolin wanted to recall it in detail, but he saw Xia Jinshi repeatedly saying that it was a misunderstanding, so he smiled and said, "I must have mistaken her for someone else, too." When Yin Jun saw this, he didn't ask any further questions. He only indifferently glanced at Xia Jinshi's eyes, which were obviously evading, and then began to introduce Xia Jinshi. "This is Chi Maolin, Mr. Qi. He owns the largest casino in Las Vegas. In the early years, he once competed with the king of gamblers and caused a sensation, too." When she heard this, Xia Jinshi's heart thumped again. So he was the owner of a casino. It was possible that he had really seen her before, too. What the hell? She was actually recognized, too. However, in view of her current identity, Xia Jinshi could only smile and nod. "Hello, Mr. Qi. I've heard a lot about you, too." However, Chi Maolin was a little embarrassed by Yin Jun's exaggerated explanation. He laughed and said, "It's all because you liked to mess around when you were young. I haven't congratulated the two of you on your newlyweds yet. Come, I, Qi, will toast to the two of you, too." Xia Jinshi drank a mouthful of wine guiltily. She lowered her eyes and stood obediently beside Yin Jun. She didn't even dare to raise her head, afraid that she would be recognized again. But what she didn't notice was that beside her, Yin Jun was quietly observing her every movement. Looking at her self-admission, Chi Maolin probably didn't recognize the wrong person. He also didn't expect that his newly married wife would actually go to a Las Vegas casino, too. What her little hobby? There's also a gambling addiction, too. When he investigated her information previously, he didn't see it. She had only exchanged a few sentences with Chi Maolin before the rest of the people came over to toast her. After sending them off one by one, Yin Jun turned his body to the side with great interest. He looked thoughtfully at the girl in front of him, who was acting like a pig to eat a tiger. You just said that you grew up in Rao City? You never left, too. Ah. Xia Jinshi was still secretly paying attention to where Qi Maolin was going. She planned to walk in the opposite direction to avoid meeting him again. Who knew that she would suddenly hear Yin Jun say this point too? Realizing that she was somewhat startled, Xia Jinshi coughed lightly and lied as if nothing had happened. Yes, too. It was a mistake. I never thought I'd run into someone from the casino at a wedding, and too. Xia Jinshi thought of something again and could not help but let out a long sigh. The rumors out there are really correct. You, Lord Yin, have married the government and joined the green forest below. You have both the black and white channels and earned quite a lot of black-hearted money, too. This Shanja government, of course, is said in Xia family marriage. Lower Union Green Forest is Xia Jinshi. No Las Vegas can afford the largest casino people. Identity is not simple. Since Yin Jun had a relationship with him, didn't this mean that Yin Jun also had business dealings with people in the underworld? Regarding his new wife's evaluation of him, Yin Jun smiled indifferently and retorted sarcastically, "How noble is your Xia family? A marriage would cost an island and 1,000 gold stores. Your calculations are also pretty good, too." You. Xia Jinshi gritted her teeth. She didn't put that money in her eyes at all, too. Moreover, it had already been taken away by her mother and second sister. She didn't even see a hair on it. The two of them were arguing with each other on a daily basis when they suddenly heard a conversation coming from beside them. I really didn't expect that Xia Jinshi would actually marry second young master Yin. This voice, too. Xia Jinshi instinctively turned her gaze over and indeed saw her old classmate, Fan Yufei, who was dressed gorgeously. Beside her was her best friend, Zhang Meng. I heard that Xia Jinshi takes drugs all year round. Moreover, she's the most disliked person in the Xia family. She's a doormat that anyone can bully. This morning, her second sister even threw a bucket of ice water at her. It's a pity that we didn't see her in such a sorry state. Zhang Ming chattered on about the gossip she had just heard. Her family background was not very good, and her looks were average. She hated the sight of Xia Jinshi, a woman with a family background and good looks, too. This was the first time Fan Yufei had heard of such gossip. She hurriedly asked, "Really? Wouldn't she be drenched in water? How miserable would she be, too?" It's not the first time anyway. I also heard that Xia Jinshi was slapped by her mother on the night before their wedding. Zhang Ming was very proud that she knew so much fresh gossip. She pouted her little mouth, as if just based on this, she could trample Xia Jinshi under her feet. Point two. Wasn't there a saying that went well? The more one lacks something in the heart, the more one liked to talk about it. TSK. If others didn't know, they would think that the fourth daughter of the Xia family would be so glamorous. I'm not saying that just based on her. How could she be worthy of the handsome second young master Yin? In one day, Xia Jinshi had already heard people say that she wasn't worthy of Yin Jun twice. She could not help but turn her body to the side and seriously sized up this man who was described as handsome and hated by both God and man. Wasn't he just a little tall? Wasn't he just a little handsome? Wasn't he just a little rich? He didn't have more arms and legs than she did, too. This was really a world that depended on one's looks. Everyone was deceived by this man's appearance. He clearly had a strange temperament and was a complete lunatic. All right. Just as she was feeling disgusted, she saw a certain someone who was leisurely and carefree just a moment ago frown, and his expression darkened. "Are you taking drugs?" he asked her in a terrifyingly cold voice. Point two. Xia Jinshi was slightly stunned. Her reputation had always been bad, and the rumors were spreading like this outside. Fortunately, she was too lazy to explain and was too lazy to listen to them. Therefore, even though she heard them say bad things about her at this moment, she was not angry. Who knew that Yin Jun would listen to these words? "What do you think?" She shrugged and looked indifferent. Point two. For some reason, Yin Jun looked at Xia Jinshi, who did not care at all, and felt a strange feeling in his heart. He could see a trace of sadness in her eyes, but she did not say anything. She pretended to not care about anything, which made his heart ache even more. What exactly had she experienced to become so indifferent? In 2 days, she had pinched her thigh, slapped, splashed water, and insulted him. What about 2 days ago? What else had she encountered, too? He was stunned to remember that last night at the seaside, she had begged bitterly, too. That weak and pitiful little appearance was like a chain that bound his heart, strangling him so much that he could not breathe. At that moment, he felt pity for her and wanted to protect her for the rest of her life, too. That was why he agreed to give her a stable home. No matter what her past life was like, since they were already married, he would not allow her to be bullied by anyone in the future. Lowering his dark eyes, Yanjun grabbed Xia Jinqi's hand and walked directly to Fan Yufei and Zhang Ming. He sneered, "What were you two talking about just now, too?" Fan Yufei and Zhang Ming froze at the same time. When the two of them turned around and saw that it was Yan Jun and Xia Jinqi, they were both scared silly. Point two. Who would have thought that they would be caught just like that by saying something bad about someone else out of boredom? It would have been fine if it was someone else, but it just had to be the cold-faced king of hell, too. Fan Yufei and Zhang Ming looked at each other and shook their heads in tacit understanding. "No, we didn't say anything. We just felt that. It's a great honor to be able to attend Jinxi and Mr. Yan's wedding. Right, Ming Ming?" Zhang Ming nodded repeatedly in agreement. That's right, that's right. Jinxi, I wish you the best, too." Xia Jinxi. Was this the famous face-changing technique of our great China? It was simply seamless and exceptionally skilled. Yan Jun looked coldly at the two of them and raised his hand slightly to hold Xia Jinqi's hand, declaring his sovereignty. "In the future, please address her as Mrs. Yan. I don't wish to hear those words again, or else." Yes, Mr. Yan, Mrs. Yan, don't worry." Zhang Ming immediately nodded and tugged at the corner of Fan Yufei's clothes, who was stunned. Only then did Fan Yufei lower her head unwillingly, but her gaze remained on Yan Jun and Xia Jinqi's tightly clasped hands, too. Yan Jun did not want to ruin this rare wedding, so he pulled Xia Jinqi along and left. After they left, Zhang Ming heaved a sigh of relief, but Fan Yufei glared at Xia Jinqi's back. "Ming Ming, tell me, how am I worse than her?" Zhang Ming did not react for a moment. In the end, she followed Fan Yufei's line of sight and said reluctantly, "You are better than her in every aspect. Her fate is completely good. If not for her politician father, would she be able to marry second young Master Yin? Don't you think that I'm more qualified than her to marry second young Master Yin, too?" Zhang Ming was stunned and looked at Fan Yufei as if she was looking at a monster. "But they're already married. What else can you do, too? You can't divorce after getting married. Just you wait. Their marriage won't last for long." Fan Yufei threw down a self-righteous prophecy and turned around to leave. Point two. The remaining Zhang Ming was still in a daze. "But I heard from my mother that this is a political marriage. Once they get married, they'll never be able to divorce, too." After Xia Jinqi was pulled away, she was still very surprised by Yan Jun's actions just now. Speaking of which, other than Wen Jing and Zhou Xiaoran who would protect her like this, no one else would protect her like this. Even Yin Qing had never to. Yin Qing and she were the same type of people. They were subjected to ridicule, used to ridicule, and ignored the ridicule. Point two. They thought that if they ignored it, they wouldn't get hurt, but in reality, silence was just a weakness that they couldn't break free from. As for Yin Jun, too, did he see the scar in the depths of his heart? Was that why he helped him? Although he was a little crazy sometimes, he seemed to be quite warm. He was slightly touched, and unknowingly, it began to grow in his heart. Yin Jun didn't know what Xia Jinqi was thinking at this moment. He only scolded her with a cold face. "The next time you encounter such a thing, you better retort back, too." His overbearing tone and commanding tone were clearly so unreasonable, but in the eyes of Xia Jinqi at this moment, it was so warm and touching. No one had ever stood on her side so unconditionally. Just as she was about to express the gratitude in her heart, a few people came over to toast her. Point two. As they chatted and laughed, they talked about Yin Jun's business matters. Xia Jinqi was in a daze as she listened. She wanted to escape again, but she was tightly grabbed by Yin Jun. She couldn't escape at all. All right, since he had helped her just now, she would stand with him for a while longer. Point two. In the end, she stood there for another afternoon. After the wedding ended, both parties' relatives and friends dispersed. Xia Jinshi also took Yin Jun's car and returned to the Yin residence. Point two. The room that once belonged solely to Yin Jun had been decorated into a new room. After Yin Jun entered the room, he went straight to the bathroom. The sound of water splashing could be heard, irritating Xia Jinshi's eardrums. A servant beside her brought in some necessities for her and said respectfully, "Young madam, there's a bathroom on the left. Do you need to wash up now, too?" Considering that Xia Jinshi was a newcomer, the servant specially gave her a description of the location. Xia Jinshi nodded. She had been wearing her wedding dress for a whole day, and she had long wanted to change out of it. However, she didn't know how Yin Jun had gotten her clothes back then. It was impossible for her to take them off by herself, too. "Can you help me take off my wedding dress? I can't reach it." Xia Jinshi pointed at her back. She couldn't feel where the zipper was, and she was very distressed. 2. The maid paused for a moment, then nodded and went forward to help Xia Jinshi. However, after searching for a long time, she actually didn't know how to take it off. Moreover, this was a new young madam. They didn't dare to use too much strength, so in the end, they could only give up. "Young madam, why don't young master come and help you in a while? We'll leave first." After saying that, she ran out with a flash of smoke. Point two. When she left, she didn't forget to close the door for Xia Jinshi. Leaving Xia Jinshi alone in the wind? Want Yin Jun help her undress? That scene too. Subconsciously swallowing her throat, Xia Jinshi hurriedly shook her head, driving away the unexplainable fantasy in her mind. She didn't want that lunatic to strip her. She tried to do it herself again, but found that she couldn't reach it no matter what. She had no choice but to get up, carry the thick and wide skirt, and walk to the door. "I better find someone to help me, too." With this thought in mind, Xia Jinshi twisted the door handle. With a gasp, Xia Jinshi leaned over to look at the door lock and turned it a few more times. Point two. The door lock that was supposed to be smooth, why did it seem to be stuck? The lock was good, but it just couldn't be opened. So, it was locked from the outside, too. Xia Jinshi, at #%2. Was it really so thoughtful locking her and Yin Jun in the same room? 2. The sound of water in the bathroom had yet to stop, but Xia Jinshi was already on the verge of collapse. What on earth was going on with this lousy wedding dress? Gritting her teeth, Xia Jinshi rummaged through the house and finally found a pair of scissors. Since she couldn't take them off anyway, she might as well cut them off. However, after gesturing a few times, Xia Jinshi sighed dejectedly. "This is Feng Shaoan's precious collection. I've already let him down by borrowing it for a day without even making a sound. If I break it, how am I going to pay for it, too?" In her daze, she heard a creak and the bathroom door opened. Xia Jinshi's hand that was holding the scissors shook heavily. Yin Jun was wrapped in a gray bathrobe, and the towel in his hand hadn't dried his wet short hair. Just as he walked out of the bathroom door, he saw Xia Jinshi pointing the scissors at his chest, too. His hand movements paused slightly, and Yin Jun's sharp eyes deepened slightly. "You want to commit suicide? Don't make it look too ugly, too." The corners of Xia Jinshi's eyes twitched. Even if she wanted to die, she wouldn't die here. She would still be laughed at by him, too. Cough, cough. Xia Jinshi put down the scissors with the back of her hand, turned her body sideways, and began to size up Yin Jun's room as if nothing had happened. Point two. Seeing her like this, Yin Jun raised his feet, walked around Xia Jinshi, and walked straight to the door. Point two. "I'll give you the room. I'll go in the study room, too." Before he could say the last two words, Yin Jun furrowed his brows and stared at the door handle that could not be opened. His expression darkened slightly. Xia Jinshi looked at his stiff actions and could only laugh dryly. "Did they remove your sofa as well, too?" Hearing this, Yin Jun's already unpleasant expression instantly sank to the bottom of the valley. The sofa had been removed 2 days ago. Point two. At that time, his mother had said that she wanted to change it. She had said that she would send it over in 2 days. In the end, it had been delayed until now. He had not noticed it either, too. It didn't need to be guessed what the elders were thinking. They wanted the two of them to sleep on the same bed. And this man and woman, sleeping together, wouldn't it be like a raging fire, burning at a little bit? They really put in a little effort. Yen Jun sneered and looked back carefully at a certain someone whose cheeks were blushing. It seems that we can only sleep together. Throwing out these words in a carefree manner, Yen Jun turned around and walked directly to his big bed. Since he couldn't leave, then he could only sleep here. Moreover, he didn't seem to dislike being in the same room as her. On the contrary, he even found it very interesting. Xia Jinshi widened her eyes and stared blankly at the man who had already lifted the corner of the blanket and laid down on the bed. She was instantly speechless. Of course, he didn't have much to lose, but I'd rather sit. Xia Jinshi turned her back and found a stool to sit down. It was already embarrassing enough that she couldn't take off her wedding dress, but she still had to sleep on the same bed? Spare her. Staring at the stubborn and cute girl in front of him, Yinjun unconsciously curled his thin lips, his gaze deep. He wanted to see how long she could put on a brave front. He casually picked up his phone and glanced at it. He originally wanted to look at the time, but when the screen lit up, countless messages immediately popped up. All of them were sent by Fong Shaoan. You're robbing me. Do you know about robbing me? 2. That's my treasure collection for many years. I can't even bear to touch it, and you actually, 2. Don't even think about using money to soothe my injured little heart. I won't accept it, too. You can come back and apologize to me after you've settled the investment for the second half of the year, 2. Seeing this, Yinjun raised his eyebrows out of habit. He had almost forgotten that what Xia Jinshi was wearing was Fong Shaoan's treasure. At that time, he didn't think too much about it. When he went to Fong Shaoan's house previously, he had seen that wedding dress a few times and thought it was pretty good. Only a top-notch wedding dress was worthy of his wedding, right? With his well-defined fingers, he easily jumped a few times on the phone screen. The message had already been sent out. I'll double the investment for you. After that, he put down the phone. Yin Jun raised his eyes and looked at the girl in front of him who still had her back to him. Take off the wedding dress, too. He didn't intend to treasure this thing. Since he had borrowed it, he would return it to Fong Shaoan tomorrow. Xia Jinshi was sitting a little cold when she heard this sentence, too. Her little heart, which had just relaxed, instantly tightened again. She habitually crossed her arms in front of her chest. Why, too? Do you still need a reason? 2. I don't want to take it off. Actually, she couldn't take it off herself, and she couldn't bring herself to beg him. 2. I'll say it again. Take it off. Her tone began to turn cold, 2. Xia Jinshi knew this person's rules. There was no third time. Pouting, she stood up unwillingly and moved to the front of the big bed. She muttered under her breath, I can't take it off, 2. Her tone was full of grievance. Did he think she wanted to wear it, too? What could she do if she couldn't take it off? She couldn't tear it off violently, too. Yin Jun. He raised his straight eyebrows slightly and sized her up. Only then did he remember that he had tampered with this wedding dress before. The clip was buttoned inwards, so it couldn't be seen from the outside. It was naturally impossible for her to take it off by herself. Come here, he said familiarly, his voice as pleasant as ever. 2. Xia Jinshi stood rooted to the ground, unable to move a single step. Seeing that she was motionless, Yin Jun said, Come here. 2. Xia Jinshi. She was truly timid. Knowing that he was about to lose his temper, she couldn't help but take a step forward. 2. Yin Jun was very satisfied with her sense of propriety. He elegantly sat up from the bed and reached out to remove the clip for her. It was originally an extremely simple action, but when his fingertips reached out, he realized that the air was somewhat frozen. Xia Jinshi had already mentally prepared herself. She couldn't possibly wear a wedding dress all night, right? Moreover, it was just to get Yin Jun to loosen the zipper for her. It wasn't like he was going to take it all off, so there was no need to be afraid, 2. She even cooperated by grabbing the cloth in front of her chest with one hand and pulling her hair behind her head with the other, so as not to block his line of sight. Just like that, her back was facing him, and she stood tall and graceful. Under the brilliant glass lights, the girl's smooth, jade-like back was presented in front of Yin Jun's eyes. She was like a generous rich man, allowing his gaze to linger. His fingertips were slightly cold. Yin Jun felt that his throat was somewhat dry, and a small flame suddenly ignited in his heart. Xia Jinqi waited for a moment, but Yin Jun didn't move. She couldn't help but urge him. Are you done yet, too? Xia Jinqi's clear and melodious voice rang out, instantly rousing Yin Jun's drifting thoughts. Point two. He coughed softly and lowered his gaze. He stretched out his hand to look for the place where the clip was placed and then found a hidden zipper. Unintentionally, he touched her delicate and warm skin. It was like the warm spring water that he had touched when he climbed the mountain with his father when he was young on the dark and deep stone wall, too. It was like silk and snow, flowing through his fingertips and entering his heart and lungs. A moment of distraction made Yin Jun forget that he was still holding the clamp in his hand. He stopped using his strength and stabbed it into Xia Jinqi's back. Point two. Ah! The pain caused Xia Jinqi to scream. It hurts! It hurts! Be gentle, too. The moment she made a fuss, the clamp moved a little, making it difficult to hold it. Yin Jun hurriedly pulled it back. Don't move, too. Then be gentle, too. In the middle of the night, the conversation between the two penetrated through the door panel and was heard by the 4 elderly maids guarding the door. The 4 of them looked at each other and covered their mouths as they chuckled. Then, they quickly walked out of the room. It's done, it's done. Quick, go tell Madam, too. Inside the room, the clip was finally taken out. Xia Jinqi took small, happy steps and ran into the bathroom. She could finally be free. She carefully took off her wedding dress and placed it on the side before Xia Jinqi turned on the shower. The splashing sound of water could be heard as if it could cover up the sound of her thumping heart. She raised her hand to touch her cheek and realized that it was a little hot, too. Unconsciously biting her lower lip, Xia Jinqi came to a sudden realization. Just now, too, she felt that he had accidentally touched her. That feeling, to be honest, was really unfamiliar. She couldn't explain it clearly. She had never had such intimate contact with any man before. Speaking of which, even the first kiss had been, too. The more she thought about it, the redder her face became. Xia Jinqi hurriedly took a deep breath, patted herself, and walked into the water curtain. Don't think about it, don't think about it. The bathroom on the left seemed to be exclusive to Xia Jinqi. All the supplies inside were in place. They were all female supplies. Even the bathrobe prepared for her had a faint pink flower printed on it. After washing up, when Xia Jinqi walked out of the bathroom, she found that Yin Jun had actually fallen asleep. She was still embarrassed at first. Should she sleep on the floor or stay up all night in the end? After taking a shower, the problem was solved. Yin Jun, she called out to him tentatively. When she found that there was no response, she carefully walked over and waved her hand in front of Yin Jun's tightly shut eyes. But there was still no response. Point two. It seemed that he had really fallen asleep. He really fell asleep fast, too. With a soft snort, Xia Jinqi turned around and immediately acted like a convict who had just been released from prison to be released for arrest. Phew, I can finally have a good rest. First, she comfortably put on a face mask. Then she began to browse Weibo and the World's End. After that, she scrolled through all her social media accounts, but Xia Jinqi still didn't feel sleepy. Could it be that she had slept too much yesterday? She didn't want to sleep, but the temperature began to drop at night. She still felt a little cold while she was wrapped in a sleeping robe. Why not? Xia Jinqi shifted her gaze to the spacious bed where Yin Jun was sleeping. She didn't know if he was intentional, but he only slept on the right side, leaving a large piece on the left side. Throughout the entire room, even the sofa had been moved away. She felt uncomfortable sitting there the whole time. Anyway, Yin Jun was asleep, so she wouldn't feel awkward. Point two. Why don't you just go up and lie down for a while? Just lie down for a while. While doing her own psychological work, Xia Jinqi moved over with small steps. She gently lifted the blanket and slowly crawled in, afraid that she would wake up the king of hell beside her, too. She even muttered to Yin Jun in a hoarse voice, I'll only lie down for a while. Okay? I promise that it'll only be a while. If you don't say anything, I'll take it as your acquiescence. Don't be angry with me when you wake up, too. As she muttered, she had already completed her ambush. There was only a blanket on the bed. She pulled over a corner and carefully covered herself up. Then, she took the opportunity to look at Yin Jun beside her. Both of his hands were placed outside, and his sleeves were rolled up so high. She didn't know if he would catch a cold point too. After hesitating for a long time, Xia Jinshi couldn't help but shake his hand and shove it back into the blanket. Don't misunderstand. You helped me this afternoon. This is a thank you, too. Knowing that he was already asleep and wouldn't hear her words, Xia Jinshi couldn't help but say a few words. She didn't know if it was for him or for herself. This was the first time in her life that she was lying on the same bed with a man. They were under the same blanket, and as she listened carefully, her ears could still hear his faint breathing. Xia Jinshi laid down obediently, her hands clutching the blanket that was close to her neck. Suddenly, her large eyes flashed as she stared at the ceiling in a daze. She clearly felt very tired, but she still couldn't fall asleep. When she thought of her escape from the wedding in the morning, her heart started to beat faster. She did not know if Yin Qing had returned. He did not appear at the wedding. He must have gone to the hospital, too. Just as she thought of this, Xia Jinshi subconsciously turned her head and looked at Yin Jun, who was sleeping quietly beside her. If he knew that she was worried about Yin Qing again, he would definitely be furious, right? What a lunatic. He actually drove straight into her and even dragged her back to get married. Earlier, someone had strangled her by the neck and told her not to appear at the wedding. Otherwise, he would have killed her too. Xia Jinshi did not notice that for the entire day, when she finally thought of Yin Qing, she was replaced by Yin Jun in an instant. 2. There were some things that were always changing unconsciously and quietly. When one day you suddenly realized it, only then did you realize that the things that had changed could no longer be changed back. Suji Shui. The night was still very long. At the Yin family's rear residence, in a quiet corner, there was still a light on. Yin Qing's lonely figure was sitting there. His forehead and the corner of his mouth were covered with color and were also bandaged one by one. In front of him was a pot of sake and a wine cup. Under the bright moonlight, he drank alone. After he failed to snatch the bride, he was originally prepared to wreak havoc at the wedding venue. But before he could rush over, he was brought back by his father's men. Seeing the wounds on his body, his father scolded him and called the doctor to treat his wounds. The wounds on his body could still be bandaged, but what about the wounds in his heart? He was not at the wedding of the woman he loved deeply. After drinking a glass of cold wine, his throat felt a strange burning pain, as if a needle had pierced into his heart. He could not help but look at a villa not far away. He knew that little Chi was there right now, in Yin Jun's room. At that time, four maids who had just listened to Yin Jun's room were hurriedly passing by the small courtyard. They did not see Yin Qing in the corner, and would not have thought that there would still be people here at this time. So they teased him in a low voice. Young madam called out really loudly just now. Young master is full of vigor. Don't hurt young madam, too. Io. Don't worry. Young master will definitely dote on young madam, too. I heard from the two little girls who served young madam just now that young madam doesn't want anyone to help her. She definitely needs a young master to help her take off her wedding dress, too. You shameless be asterisk starred. You're spouting nonsense, too. All right. I'm AB asterisk starred. Hurry up and report this great news to the madam, too. The few old ladies did not hold back either. They were still walking on the road when they started talking about what happened in the couple's room. They left happily, but Yin Qing, who heard their conversation just now, did not feel so good in his heart. His eyes, which were already sorrowful, suddenly narrowed, too. He stood up in a flash and took 2 quick steps forward. At this moment, Yin Qing really wanted to go and bring Xia Jinshi out. But, too, he had only run a few steps when he stopped again. So what if he went? Xiao Qi was already married, and he too, raising his eyes to look around the Yin family's courtyard. Yin Qing gritted his teeth and forcefully restrained his impulse. He couldn't lose his identity as a member of the Yin family. It wasn't easy for him to come back, but he still hadn't gotten everything that should have belonged to him, too. His Xiao Qi and the Yin family's estate, too. All of this should have belonged to him. Just you wait, Yin Sheng. Yin Jun, whatever you owe me, I will get it back, too. I will get back what belongs to me, too. And Xiao Qi, wait for me, too. One day, I will take you away from here, too. After an unknown amount of time, Xia Jinshi still couldn't fall asleep. She had already counted 3,679 sheep, but she still couldn't fall asleep. She had suffered from insomnia since she was young. She had seen many psychologists, and her condition had slightly improved. As long as Xia Jinshi returned to the Xia family, her condition would always relapse. Sometimes she would also ask a doctor overseas to prescribe some medicine that contained sleeping ingredients. When she really couldn't fall asleep, she would take one. But that was only occasionally. She didn't want to become dependent on this thing. But tonight, she really couldn't sleep. Xia Jinshi sighed and got out of bed. She found a small white pill bottle in her backpack, poured one out, and swallowed it with mineral water. In the dark, she quietly went to bed and closed her eyes. This time, she fell asleep not long after. Not long after she fell asleep, Yin Jun, who had been sleeping soundly, opened his eyes in the dark. Rather than saying that he was pretending to sleep, it was more like he was pretending to sleep. He knew the character of the woman beside him. If he had not fallen asleep first, she would never have obediently come up. Therefore, he closed his eyes. Who knew that the moment this woman saw that he was asleep, she would start to have fun. After playing for a long time, she was finally willing to go to bed. However, even if she lay down, she was still not honest. She covered him with a blanket and nagged endlessly. It was a miracle that she could count so many sheep. In the end, he even woke up and took some medicine before he finally felt at ease. Speaking of this medicine, too, Yin Jun narrowed his eyes, lifted the corner of the blanket, and walked to Xia Jinshi's bedside. He picked up the white bottle of medicine that she had placed here just now. There were no words on it, so he couldn't tell where it came from. However, judging from her symptoms, it was undoubtedly a sleeping pill. It seemed that the rumors in the outside world were not entirely groundless. At least the saying that she needed to take sleeping pills all year round to fall asleep did not seem to be false. Gently put down the bottle, Yin Jun turned and walked to the balcony. He dialed Wang Mang's mobile phone. Go to the immigration department to check Xia Jinshi's record of going abroad. 2. I'm sorry. Wang Mang's words have not finished. Over there, Yin Jun has hung up the phone. Hello, too. Do, The sound of someone cutting off the phone rang out. Although Wang Mang had some doubts, he still put down the beer bottle in his hand, picked up his coat that was thrown on the sofa, and walked out. The brothers are having fun. This young master has some matters to attend to, so I'll be leaving first, too. Wang Mang's family also had a certain status in Rao City, but he was used to working under Yin Jun ever since that incident a few years ago. He had always put Yin Jun first in everything from now on. When Yin Jun returned to his room, under the soft moonlight, he discovered that Xia Jinshi, who was supposed to be sleeping obediently, had suddenly turned over. Not only did she hug his pillow, but she was also lying horizontally in the middle of the big bed. Although the bed was not small, with Xia Jinshi lying horizontally, how could there be a place for him to lie down? The corners of Yin Jun's lips twitched slightly as he reached out to stroke his forehead. After eating sleeping pills, how could he sleep so dishonestly? He pulled out the pillow that she was hugging and pulled her to the right side of the big bed before he got on the bed. Who knew that the moment he laid down, the woman who had been moved away just now would come over again. Like a koala, she hugged his waist tightly and did not let go. Point 2. Yin Jun's entire body stiffened, and he could not move at all. The girl's soft body was pressing tightly against his boiling hot chest, too. Between the nostrils, the fragrance of her hair easily lingered, tempting one's soul. He had a slight misophobia and did not like to be so close to others. Point 2. But now, too, he did not seem to reject her approach at all. He did not even dare to move too much, afraid that he would wake her up. The sexy Adam's apple rolled up and down for a moment. The hand that was frozen in midair was also slightly lowered due to the soreness. Point 2. When he landed, he realized that there was no place for him to let go, and he could only land on the back of her waist. The waist of a girl that was not even close to her waist was soft and small. The feeling was very strange. Xia Jinshi, who was still in her dream, thought that she was hugging a pillow. However, In her dream, she still did not have a good time. She frowned and moaned a few times. Yin Jun lowered his eyes and stared at her sleeping face that had sunk into the moonlight. In the depths of his heart, an indescribable gentleness suddenly appeared. Xia, Jean, Chi too. He unconsciously chanted her name. The speed of his speech was very slow. He enunciated each word carefully and carefully. At first, he thought that she was a boring doll raised by the aristocrats, but who knew that she was actually an interesting person with flesh and blood. Not only that, she also had so many unknown secrets on her. Her relationship with Yin Qing had already caught him off guard, and now he knew that she often had insomnia, and even went to foreign casinos. It was obvious that his understanding of her was far from enough. Perhaps he should indeed spend more effort on her. After all, from this day onwards, she would be his wife for the rest of his life. A good night's sleep. When Xia Jinshi woke up, the room just happened to be sprinkled with sunlight, and everywhere was warm. Her sleepy eyes were narrowed, and the first thing that entered her eyes was Yin Jun's magnified, handsome face. Xia Jinshi was so scared that she didn't even finish yawning before she instantly woke up. The memories before she fell asleep flooded her mind like flowing water. Last night, she seemed to have sneaked into Yin Jun's bed while he was asleep, too. And Xia Jinshi looked down at her current position. She didn't know when she had crawled into this man's arms, and she was even leaning on his arm and supporting his waist, too. At #%, too. Could it be that her lack of love had reached such an extent? She was desperate for food, too. She slapped herself awake and quickly got out of bed. She took her clothes and hid in the washroom on the left. Fortunately, she woke up first. If Yin Jun found out, she wouldn't know how to mock her. Xia Jinshi comforted her pounding heart and used countless deep breaths to tell herself to calm down. Since she wasn't discovered, what was there to be afraid of? 2. Yin Jun was woken up by the sound of the door closing. He sat up out of habit and realized that his arm was very numb. He was even a little disobedient. When Xia Jinshi came out of the dressing room, she happened to see Yin Jun changing his clothes in the cloakroom in the bedroom point 2. He had already put on his shirt, as if he was wearing a tie. However, it seemed that his right hand was not moving very much. He tried a few times, but the tie was not done. Xia Jinshi coughed dryly. This seemed to be the arm that she had slept on when she woke up in the morning, too. Could she have slept on his right hand for the whole night, just like that? And all of this, Yin Jun still did not know. At this moment, he was probably wondering why the circulation of blood in his arm would be blocked after he slept. Afraid that she would be held accountable and discover the fact that she had quietly climbed into bed, Xia Jinshi hurriedly went forward. With a fawning smile on her face, she took the initiative to curry favor with him. "Why don't I help you, too?" Yin Jun turned his head and glanced at the culprit indifferently. His expression was not good, but he did not refuse. This was all her fault, so she naturally had to make up for it. Xia Jinshi was focused on perfunctorily trying to avoid being found out about her evil deeds, so she did not notice the curve of the man's lips. She carefully tidied up his tie, only to realize that she could not reach it at all, too. Xia Jinshi frowned slightly. She could only stand on her toes and barely pulled down his collar. Because of this action, the distance between the two of them suddenly shortened. It was as if they could hear each other's breathing. Xia Jinshi didn't think too much about it. Instead, she cursed in her heart. Why did he have to be so tall for no reason? It was so high that she couldn't even reach it. In comparison, Yin Jun's inner activities were more abundant. Her sudden approach seemed to bring about the heat of the surrounding air, burning his heart. His gaze couldn't help but look at her face, and then quickly moved away, afraid that someone would notice his strange behavior at this moment. His throat felt slightly dry, and his mind went blank. He kept inexplicably thinking of the scene last night when he unbuttoned her wedding dress. The maid knocked on the door and came in. "Young master, young madam, it's time for breakfast." As soon as she finished speaking, she saw the two people in the room acting intimately. The servants lowered their heads and hurriedly left while suppressing their smiles. It seemed that the young master and young madam's relationship was really very good. Xia Jinshi's face also flushed red, and she instinctively retreated. You can't tie it. You'd better do it yourself, too. Yin Jun's mood was not affected in the slightest. He only lowered his head to look at the tie that she had messed up, and he furrowed his brows slightly. You don't even know how to tie a tie, he said in a very disdainful tone. Point two. I'm not a man, Xia Jinshi muttered as she turned around and ran out of the door. Point two. There was an awkward expression carved on her forehead. She had thought that it was quite simple. Didn't she know how to wear a red scarf when she was young? Who knew that she would only realize that it was completely different when she touched it? 2. However, Yinjun was inexplicably in a great mood. Since she didn't know how to tie a tie, didn't that mean that this was her first time wearing a tie for a man? This was the first day that Xia Jinshi married into the Yin family. Everyone put down what they were doing and gathered at a dining table to express how much they valued Xia Jinshi. Yin Yucheng had a high seniority, so he naturally sat directly above the door. On his right hand was Yin Sheng, Ji Xinyu, Yin Jun, and Xia Jinshi. On his left hand, there was only Yin Xing's lonely figure. Yin Xing was directly facing Yin Sheng. Although this pair of half-brothers had the same blood flowing in their bodies, their ages were much different. They barely looked at each other and were no different from strangers. During the meal, Yin Xing's gaze would occasionally turn to where Xia Jinshi was. His gaze was filled with sadness and love, but it was more indifferent than usual. Xia Jinshi knew her identity. She kept her head down and did not look, nor did she pay attention to Yin Xing. Yin Yucheng did not miss Yin Xing's gaze. He coughed lightly and said, Jinshi, are you used to living here, too? This sentence had a profound meaning. On the surface, he was asking if Xia Jinshi slept well last night. In reality, he was investigating the nightlife of the two young couples and also asking if Yin Jun was satisfied with this new wife. The answers to these questions could be reflected from Xia Jinshi's subsequent answers. However, Xia Jinshi didn't think too much about it. She only answered according to the standard format. I'm very used to it. Thank you for your concern, grandfather. 2. That's good. If there's anything you need, just say it. In the future, treat this place as your home. Don't be shy. Yin Yucheng seemed to be very satisfied with Xia Jinshi's answer. He laughed loudly and looked at Yin Sheng and Ji Xinyu. Both of you take good care of Jinshi too. Don't let her suffer any grievances, too. Dad, don't worry. Yin Sheng nodded. His tone of reply was polite and stiff. Point two. He had never had any feelings for this father who liked to cheat. Ji Xinyu smiled and replied, I also feel that this child, Jinshi, is obedient. If you have any problems in the future, just let me know. We're all family, too. Thank you, Dad, Mom. Xia Jinshi still replied in an official manner. She did not go overboard and did not exaggerate. Point two. It was safer to speak less and eat less since it was her first time here. However, too, Xia Jinshi felt a little disappointed in her heart. In all these years, the Xia family had never seen such a scene where a family could have a meal together other than putting on a show in front of the media. Xia Jinshi had never had one, but Yin Xing had always been able to have a meal like this because of Yin Yucheng's arrangements. But even if they sat together, he would never be able to blend in with the family across from him. Not in the past, not now, not in the future. After a moment of silence, Yin Yucheng seemed to have remembered something else. He looked at Xia Jinshi and Yin Xing. The two of you haven't met before, right? Jinshi, this is your second uncle. He wasn't feeling well yesterday, so he didn't attend your wedding. 2. Xia Jinshi was slightly stunned. She looked up at Yin Xing, but she didn't expect Yin Xing to be looking at her as well. For a moment, their eyes met. She lifted her lips. She wanted to tell Yin Yucheng that she knew Yin Xing too. But before she could say it, Yin Jun, who had been silent all this time, suddenly opened his mouth. I heard that the two of you have known each other for a long time, right, Jinshi, too? His tone was slightly raised, mixed with a hint of playfulness. Yin Jun turned his head to look at Xia Jinshi with interest. And because of Yin Jun's sudden words, everyone at the table subconsciously focused their gazes on Xia Jinshi. These two people knew each other. As for Xia Jinshi, who was frightened by Yin Jun's words of Jinshi, she could only smile with a pale face. Yin Xing was my university professor, too. I see. Yin Yucheng nodded thoughtfully. Then he knitted his white eyebrows and said to Xia Jinshi in a slightly serious tone, Yin Qing is my second uncle. Don't call him Yin Qing anymore. He is Yin Jun's second uncle. You should also call him second uncle. Don't mess up the seniority, too. I got it. The moment Xia Jinshi nodded, she seemed to understand the deeper meaning behind Yin Yoqing's words. Point 2. Don't mess up the seniority, too. So, this sentence was deliberately said for her to hear. So, Yin Yuqing knew the relationship between her and Yin Qing from the beginning. So, this was a warning to her to behave herself, too. Xia Jinshi did not dare to continue thinking because she had already obediently turned her eyes to look at Yin Qing and respectfully and strangely called him second uncle. 2. Throughout the entire university period, Xia Jinshi was used to calling his name directly. Yin Qing, Yin Qing. Even if she could not call him for her thesis, she still called him. Even if her family was wronged, she still called him. Even if she was hungry, she still called him. She had long gotten used to it. Suddenly changing these two words to second uncle, it was as if an invisible shackle had been placed on them, completely separating the two people's worlds. The food that was usually delicious was now in his mouth, and it instantly became tasteless. Yin Qing forcefully endured the emptiness in his heart and nodded slightly. MHM, too. He understood what his father meant. Those words were not only meant for Xia Jinshi to hear, but also for him to hear. Don't mess up the hierarchy. But who was the first to break this hierarchy? Breakfast was still continuing. Xia Jinshi was laughing at her situation in her heart. When she turned around, she saw that the exquisite snacks in front of Yin Jun had barely been touched. Did he not have an appetite, too? She could not help but look at him a few more times. She noticed that his right hand, which was holding the fork, was slightly stiff. Xia Jinshi suddenly realized it was the arm that she had slept with for the whole night. Her right hand was not feeling well, so it was not convenient for her to eat. In an instant, a sense of guilt welled up in her heart. Without thinking much, she directly picked a few foods that she liked and quietly put them on Yin Jun's plate. She asked in a low voice, "What do you like to eat? I'll help you pick it up." The dining table was only so small. No matter how quiet Xia Jinshi's voice and actions were, they were instantly noticed by the others. Everyone at the table looked at Xia Jinshi and Yin Jun in surprise. The atmosphere was strange. Yin Jun did not miss these strange gazes. Just as he was feeling a headache, he suddenly met Yin Qing's deep eyes that were filled with faint sadness. It was obvious that he was looking at Xia Jinshi. This naked gaze did not avoid suspicion at all. It landed on his wife. An unknown fire surged from the bottom of his heart and instantly rushed to the top of his head. This feeling was like the racing car he liked when he was young being snatched away. It was really annoying. Yin Jun raised his eyebrows slightly. He turned his head and looked at the somewhat dazed Xia Jinshi. Fruit, too. His clear voice was mixed with countless doting and lingering feelings. Hearing this, Xia Jinshi's throat tightened. Shaking her small hand, she poked half of the saintly virgin fruit from the fruit salad plate and was about to put it onto his plate. Point 2. Who knew that before the fruit could be put down, Yin Jun's right hand would gently lift up and place it right under her wrist. He held her hand and brought the food directly to his mouth. Then, under the astonishment of the people at the table, Yin Jun ate the half of the saintly virgin fruit with Xia Jinshi's fork. This series of actions was done smoothly by Yin Jun. Moreover, it was not directly fed. There was even a fork in the middle, but it made Xia Jinshi's heart go numb. This man, too. Seeing Yin Sheng and Ji Sinyu's smiling eyes, Xia Jinshi immediately felt her face turn red. She had no choice but to lower her head and poke at the food on her plate. As for Yin Jun, who was not in a hurry to make all this, he was looking up at Yin Qing with a smile that was not a smile. Look arrogant, as if in the declaration of sovereignty, overbearing dictatorship. Yin Qing looked at Xia Jinshi's blushing little face, holding the fork in his hand, hard force. Veins popped up on the back of his hand. Just as he was about to rush forward, he was interrupted by Yin Yoqing's hearty laughter. Ha 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 ha. Ah Sheng, how is it? The daughter-in-law I picked for you is not bad, right too? Yin Sheng nodded with a smile. Yes, this is the first time I've seen this kid eat food fed by others, too. Ji Sinyu could not help but cover her mouth and laugh. Her son had finally come to his senses. She was not worried about anything. She was just thinking about when she would be able to have a grandson. As she thought about it, Ji Sinyu stared at Xia Jinqi's embarrassed head with a big smile on her face. As a mother-in-law, she had to do something. After dinner, Yin Jun was called to the study by Yin Sheng. Xia Jinqi was on her way back to her room. However, Yin Qing caught up with her halfway. Xiao Qi, too. Hearing this voice, Xia Jinqi stopped in her tracks. She turned around and saw Yin Qing, who was panting from running. Second uncle? What's the matter, too? She was well aware of the rules of the Yin family, and also knew what seniority meant. Therefore, even though there were only her and Yin Qing, she still called him second uncle. Moreover, from now on, she would call him that. However, Yin Qing did not expect that she would also call him that in private. It was as if a sharp object had dug a hole in his heart. It was empty and uncomfortable. Don't call me second uncle. His face darkened, and his tone was mixed with anger. But Xia Jinqi wanted to repeat what Yin Yucheng had said to him, but she only had time to say 2 words before he snatched the right to speak. Xiao Qi, last night, you guys. Yin Qing hesitated for a long time. He was unable to say the matter too directly, but he had to know the answer. He could only clench his teeth and ask, did he bully you? Bully? Xia Jinqi repeated this word and didn't think too much for a moment. No, Yin Jun was already asleep when I came out of the shower. Perhaps he was too tired during the day, too. Speaking of which, she and Yin Jun didn't have much interaction last night. They slept separately, and everything was fine. How could they bully each other? Is that so? Yin Qing finally heaved a sigh of relief. That's good too. Since they slept so early, nothing should have happened. The huge stone hanging in Yin Qing's heart finally fell to the ground. Xia Jinqi did not understand the relief on Yin Qing's face. She only thought that he was worried about her. Instead, she comforted him, I'm fine. Yin Jun won't do anything to me. 2. No matter what, in the failed escape from the marriage yesterday, at least Yin Qing had given her a glimmer of hope, even though it was just a fleeting dream. As she sighed, Xia Jinqi saw the bruise on Yin Qing's forehead. She could not help but ask worriedly, are your injuries okay, too? After all, it was for her that she was injured. Xia Jinqi still felt somewhat guilty. Hearing Xia Jinqi's worried tone, Yin Qing's mood soared. It's fine as long as you're fine, too. He smiled happily like a child. Xia Jinqi didn't understand how his mood could change so much in such a short time. She wanted to ask again, but thinking of their current identities, she still felt that it was better for them to have less interaction in the future, too. Second uncle, if there's nothing else, I'll go back to my room first, too. After saying that, she turned around and was about to leave. Unfortunately, before she could take a step forward, she was grabbed by Yin Qing's elbow. Xiao Qi, are you avoiding me? Actually, there's no need for us to be like this. I'm still the same Yin Qing, and you're still the same Xiao Qi from before. Nothing has changed, too. Xia Jinqi smiled helplessly. Nothing has changed? From the moment I was captured and brought back yesterday, it has already changed. You're now my elder, and you're the one who I should call second uncle, too. It was just that after a day, the two people's thoughts had already undergone an earth-shattering change. Yin Qing was still hoping that nothing would change, that everything would be as beautiful as before. However, in Xia Jinqi's heart, those feelings that were already indistinct had been completely changed. That's only in the Yin family. In front of them, I'm his second uncle. Yin Qing could not help but growl. He did not understand why Xia Jinqi was so stubborn. 2. She was only in a political marriage with Yin Jun, not in true love. Why did she care so much about this identity? In private, when it was just you and me, I was still Yin Qing. I was still the same Yin Qing who could chat with you all night long. Xia Jinqi. She didn't understand why Yin Qing was so agitated. It was just a title. Why was it so important? Of course, she knew that he was still the same Yin Qing as before, but their identities had changed slightly. Xia Jinqi was slightly stunned, which allowed Yin Qing to seize the opportunity. He approached her, put his hands on her shoulders, and looked seriously at her pair of crystal-clear eyes. Xiao Qi, you have to endure for a while longer. Soon, believe me, soon, I'll be able to bring you out of here. Xia Jinqi was confused by the stubborn and solemn vow in her ears. She needed this marriage to get rid of the Xia family, so she didn't have any thoughts of leaving in the short term. Just as she was about to tell Yin Qing what she was thinking, a cold question came from behind her. What are you doing? Xia Jinqi subconsciously turned her head and indeed saw Yin Jun glaring at her and Yin Qing with an ashen face. Didn't he go to Yin Sheng's study room? He came back so soon, too. Moreover, from the looks of it, he was already in a rage. Xia Jinqi subconsciously pulled back her hand that was held by Yin Qing. She opened her mouth to explain, "Second uncle, he too." Xia Jinqi was interrupted before she could finish her words. "I've known Xiao Qi for 4 years. Can't we have a chat?" Yin Qing couldn't hold back his anger and turned his body to block in front of Xia Jinqi. Point 2. Why did the so-called marriage contract have to cut off the 4 years that he and Xiao Qi had known each other? He was the one who met Xiao Qi first. He was the one who proposed to marry Xiao Qi. Why did everything end up with Yin Jun? Why was he still not allowed to talk to Xiao Qi? Don't forget, she is my wife now. Yin Jun glanced at him coldly and walked over quickly. He held Xia Jinqi's hand and walked towards their room. Point 2. Xia Jinqi was dragged away. She could feel Yin Jun's anger, so she had no intention of struggling or resisting. If she angered this madman, he would really do anything, too. However, Yin Jun only took 2 steps before letting go of her hand. He turned around and walked back to Yin Qing. Yin Qing's cold eyes fell into Yin Qing's dark eyes, and his tone was mocking. I heard that grandfather transferred you back to the head office. Do a good job and don't let him down, too. Yin Sheng had called Yin Jun over just now to talk about this matter. Yin Yuqing suddenly gave Yin Qing 3% of the shares and transferred him to be the head of the head office's strategic distribution department in Asia. In the past, although Yin Qing had the blood of the Yin family flowing in his body, he did not have any shares. He had not even gone to the head office because he was an illegitimate child. In his early years, Yin Yuqing did not want a black spot to appear in his life. This was also the reason why Yin Sheng could still tolerate Yin Qing being in the Yin family for so many years. But it was just raising an extra idle person. It was not a big deal as long as he did not covet the Yin family's assets. However, the current situation was completely different. Yin Qing had the shares and officially entered the head office. From a certain point of view, Yin Yucheng did not care about his reputation anymore. He was old, and perhaps he wanted to make up for his favorite little son. Then, it was very likely that Yin Qing would gradually take control of the group under the Yin family. At the same time that Yin Sheng finally felt the crisis, he was also slightly gratified. Fortunately, Jun Er had married the Xia family's daughter. In the future, with the help of her father-in-law in the political arena, she could at least surpass Yin Qing. Compared to his father's worry, Yin Jun's attitude was rather cold. He did not want to hear about anything related to Yin Qing, so he did not discuss it with his father in detail. He just turned around and left. If he had not left early, he would not have run into the scene of these 2 people gathering together in the corridor so quickly. Yin Qing did not expect Yin Jun to suddenly bring up this matter. In an instant, he actually felt a little guilty, and his aura instantly dropped. Those shares were actually only given to him by his father after he had agreed to his father's conditions. Rather than saying that it was given, it was more like he had traded it for it. In the core of this transaction, Yin Qing raised his eyes and looked straight at Xia Jinqi, who was 2 or 3 steps away. He said gently, "Little Qi, if you have any difficulties in taking the postgraduate entrance examination, feel free to come find me." Xia Jinqi had once discussed with Yin Qing whether she should continue her postgraduate studies after graduating from university. Even she herself had not decided yet. Who would have thought that he would take it to heart? However, before Xia Jinqi could say anything, Yin Qing had already turned around and left in a carefree manner. The remaining Yin Jun, who had a dark expression on his face, scrutinized her. You want to take the postgraduate examination, too? I plan to. Xia Jinqi's answer was somewhat ambiguous. In the past, she wanted to take the postgraduate examination to enrich her knowledge, but now she had married into the Yin family, too. Hearing her answer, Yin Jun's heart inexplicably felt a little irritated. He didn't like this feeling. There was another man who knew his wife better than he did. If there's anything in the future, you can only tell me, he said domineeringly. He took her hand and pulled her back to the room point two. Xia Jinqi followed by his side, somewhat stunned. What happened to a fake marriage without love? Why did it become a little strange, too? She couldn't help but think that Yin Jun's behavior seemed to really be her husband. In the afternoon, the Xia family sent Xia Jinqi's luggage over. A portion of the room that originally belonged to Yin Jun was split open and used by Xia Jinqi. Ji Xinyu did not go out in the afternoon. She stayed at home specifically to help Xia Jinqi tidy up. Although there were many servants at home and Xia Jinqi did not have to do it herself, many things still needed to be sorted according to her preferences. She did not know if Ji Xinyu did it on purpose or not. The Yin family had such a large house, yet they insisted on keeping her tightly at Yin Jun's place point two. It was one thing for them to share the cloakroom, but in the end, they even had to share the study room. Were they trying to make her look at Yin Jun's shadow when she was working and studying? Mom, will it affect Yin Jun's work if I'm in the study room? Why don't I go to another room? Xia Jinqi was prepared to struggle. After all, fate should be in her own hands, too. Who knew that Ji Xinyu would reply to her? Men and women work together. It's not tiring to work. It's pretty good to be together, too. It seemed that fate could not be changed just by struggling. Xia Jinqi was so choked that she could not speak. She could only quietly organize her album. These things were her treasures. She had always tidied them up herself. The album was placed on the bookshelf one after another. It was pleasing to the eye. Ji Xinyu was curious at the side. She casually picked up a book and opened it. She found that the paintings inside were very unique. Sketches, watercolors, and ink were almost all there. Moreover, the name of Xia Jinqi was all signed. I've heard that you liked to draw since you were young. Your drawing skills are really good. Ji Xinyu praised sincerely, as expected of the daughter of the Xia family. She liked it very much point two. However, Xia Jinqi lowered her head in embarrassment. I was just drawing for fun, too. When she was young, she didn't have as many social media accounts as she did now, nor did she have the complicated world on the internet. When she was isolated outside the door by the term home, she couldn't sleep all night. She would always find something to do point two. Drawing and reading could always pass some boring time. There was not much joy in her childhood. The only happiness was the treasures in her hands. Ji Xinyu looked at the girl in front of her, who was so obedient. The more she looked at her, the more she liked her. She could not help but ask, Jinqi, where do you want to go on your honeymoon with Juner? Honeymoon? Xia Jinqi paused for a moment and smiled embarrassedly. There's no need for a honeymoon, right? I think he's quite busy recently. What a joke. She was going on a honeymoon with Yin Jun? How awkward would that be? Ji Xinyu, on the other hand, had a different plan. It was said that newlyweds had to strike while the iron was hot. That way, she would be able to hold on her grandson faster. You child, no matter how busy a man is outside, he has to think about his wife at home. Why don't I give you an idea? Go to Las Vegas? There's our family shopping mall and casino there. Let Juner take you there to have some fun, too. Xia Jinqi hadn't taken this matter to heart at first, but who knew that she would hear about the casino in Las Vegas? She instantly perked up. Mom, there's really no need. I happen to have some matters to attend to recently, too. Ji Xinyu glanced at Xia Jinqi. She was a little surprised that she would refuse, but after thinking about it, there shouldn't be a woman who would refuse a honeymoon, right? She guessed that the place she mentioned wasn't quite right. What about London? Paris? Xia Jinqi. She didn't want to go anywhere, especially with Yin Jun. The two of them could be considered teammates in the trenches, but they weren't really husband and wife. What kind of honeymoon were they going to have point two? Just as Ji Xinyu was racking her brain to think of a holy place for her honeymoon trip, a cool voice came from the door. It was neither hot nor cold. Let's go to Las Vegas. Mr. Chi just happens to be going back as well. We'll travel the same way. Xia Jinqi felt her heart thump fiercely. She still had to meet that Mr. Qi. They weren't going any other place but Las Vegas, too. She stared at Yin Jun, who was walking towards the study room. She seriously suspected that he did it on purpose. That's great. I'll go and help you arrange it. Ji Xin heard her son speak in person. Of course, that was what she wanted, too. Mom, actually, we don't need to. Xia Jinqi was still struggling, but Ji Xin acted as if she didn't hear a word. She happily walked out of the door point, too. The remaining Xia Jinqi, whose face was stiff, glared at Yin Jun and questioned, "Why did you agree to go on the honeymoon? You know that the two of us aren't what they think, too." Yin Jun just glanced at her indifferently and threw a document bag in front of Xia Jinqi. The atmosphere became somewhat solemn with a snap. "Open it and take a look," he ordered. Point 2. Xia Jinqi didn't suspect him. It was just a document bag, not that she didn't dare to look at it. Who knew that the moment she opened it, the contents of the document she pulled out would give her a big fright. It was filled with the records of her coming out of seclusion for the past 6 months. In her astonishment, his cold and thin voice drifted into her ears. "Perhaps you should explain to me first, what kind of secret are you hiding? Who travels back and forth between the city and Las Vegas once a month on average?" 2. Xia Jinqi was dumbfounded by the question. Point 2. When she was recognized by Mr. Qi at the wedding, she was already a little flustered. She didn't expect that this man would find out about her in just one day. He even got his hands on the records, and he was so detailed. She didn't even dare to raise her head to look at him. She knew that his black eyes must be unusually sharp, as if he could directly see through her soul. "Do you think that I won't be able to find out if you don't tell me, too?" His slightly threatening words stimulated Xia Jinqi's nerves. If she didn't make something up, this man might really continue to investigate. At that time, too. No, her identity couldn't be exposed for the time being. Biting her lower lip, Xia Jinqi lowered her eyes and whispered, "Actually, I'm going to get sleeping pills. You know that I have insomnia. It's not easy to get these pills in the country." Xia Jinqi also didn't expect that lying would be so easy. It was practically a piece of cake. Yin Jun silently sized up the girl in front of him. She lowered her eyelids, her long eyelashes casting a fan-shaped shadow that covered her eyes and also covered her worries. As for the reason, she said, too, sleeping pills were indeed difficult to get in China. If she went abroad to get sleeping pills, it wasn't impossible. The atmosphere between the two was in a stalemate when Yin Jun's cell phone rang. It was Zhuge Wintao calling. "Second young master, the test results of the pills you sent over this morning are out. The main ingredient in them is vitamin C, too." Yin Jun. Last night, after Xia Jinqi fell asleep, Yin Jun had checked Xia Jinqi's medicine bottle. The girl had a big heart. After eating it, she put it by the bedside. She thought that it was in her bedroom, so she could do whatever she wanted. The most important reason why Yin Jun would take the medicine inside to test the ingredients was because he was already married to Xia Jinqi. If his wife really had a habit of taking drugs, then he had the obligation to help her. Under this premise, he first had to know what kind of medicine she was secretly taking. But who would know that that thing was neither sleeping pills nor drugs? It was actually just vitamin C, too. Crossing the ocean and secretly running to Las Vegas just for a small bottle of vitamin C? This lie was very sincere. Xia Jinqi knew that Yin Jun was on the phone. She let out a small sigh of relief. Just as she was about to raise her eyes to see if his complexion was okay, she met his jet-black pupils. She was so scared that she hurriedly lowered her head and pretended to be busy tidying up her things. Point 2. Could it be that her lie was discovered, too? But the reason she made up was quite reasonable. There shouldn't be any reason to suspect her, right? Yin Jun's long silence also made Zhuge Wintao, who was on the other end of the phone, suspicious. "Second young master, too." Only then did Yin Jun come back to his senses. "And I got it, too." Putting down the phone, Yin Jun leaned back against the side of the bookshelf, his deep black eyes sizing up the woman who lied in front of him without even blushing. If the lie was exposed so quickly, it wouldn't be fun anymore. Since she wanted to hide it, as her husband, he should support her. "It just so happens that I have an expert in psychology. When the time comes, I'll give you more sleeping pills to bring back." Insomnia is an illness, and it needs to be treated. 2. Xia Jinxi. At this moment, there were only 10 million grass mud horses running through her heart. When she heard these words, it sounded like they were saying, lying is an illness, and it needs to be treated. 2. Admiring the dazed look on Xia Jinxi's face, Yin Jun curled the corners of his thin lips in satisfaction. Just as he was about to turn around and leave, he suddenly thought of something and turned to look at her. Does your father know about you leaving the country? 2. No. Xia Jinxi shook her head. The people at home never cared about what she was doing. Point 2. As long as she appeared at a certain place at a specific time and allowed the family to meet, they would be able to understand each other. Does Yin Qing know? No. Xia Jinxi continued to shake her head. Yin Jun was probably the first to know about her leaving the country. Yin Jun's originally unhappy mood was completely saved by Xia Jinxi's later ignorance. She didn't even tell Yin Qing. It seemed that Yin Qing wasn't as important in her heart as she thought, and he knew her a little better than Yin Qing. Seeing that Yin Jun was about to leave, Xia Jinxi hurriedly stopped him. I want to go out tonight, is that okay? 2. It was her first time coming to the Yin family, so she didn't understand many of the rules. Moreover, today was her first day of marriage, so she didn't know if the people from the Yin family would have dinner together. What's the matter? Yin Jun was in a good mood at the moment, and even his tone had become much gentler. Point 2. Xia Jinxi nodded, but she didn't say what the matter was. Point 2. The more she hid, the more Yin Jun wanted to know what she was trying to hide. Point 2. At night, the family would have dinner together. Since she wanted to go out, then 2. Yin Jun was silent for a moment. He picked up his phone again and dialed a number. Arrange a car to pick me up. 2. Xia Jinxi looked up at him in surprise. Could it be that he was going out as well? As she was thinking, Yin Jun had already hung up the phone. He turned around to look at her. Go pack up. I'll take you out. 2. Going out alone on the first night of their wedding was somewhat against the rules. But if Yin Jun was taking her out with him, then there was nothing wrong with it. Xia Jinxi quickly reacted to Yin Jun's meaning, and her brows immediately lit up. Thank you, 2. After saying that, she quickly ran to the changing room. She had been busy with the wedding recently and had almost forgotten about the other side, too. Tonight, she had to make a trip no matter what. When Xia Jinxi followed Yin Jun out the door, there were already 3 Lincoln cars parked at the door. Beside the car stood a tall woman in a tight red dress. She had long brown wavy hair, exquisite makeup, and a perfect smile. Just as Xia Jinxi was wondering who this person was, she saw the woman lower a document to Yin Jun. President Yin, this is the information you requested. 2. Yin Jun nodded and took the lead to get into the car. When Xia Jinxi walked to the car, the woman took the initiative to introduce herself. Hello, madam. My name is Yushi. I'm President Yan's administrative secretary. 2. Yushi? The moment she heard this name, Xia Jinxi subconsciously froze for a moment. At the wedding yesterday, she heard this name behind the rockery. It seemed to be Yushi, too. So, it was her secretly in love with Yin Jun, too. She couldn't help but take another look at Yushi. Xia Jinxi frowned slightly. It couldn't be said that she was a peerless beauty, but she had a delicate face and a hot figure, especially this short skirt with a package of buttocks, too. While Xia Jinxi was sizing Yushi up, Yushi was also secretly sizing up this new wife. Point 2. In the early years, she had heard that she had a bad reputation and was the only one who had a beautiful face. Now that she looked at it, even Yushi couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Point 2. She lamented that the heavens had given all the good things to this woman. Moreover, her temperament was also very outstanding, completely different from the rumors of cowardice. Sensing the surprise in Yushi's eyes, Xia Jinxi just smiled faintly and got into the car, sitting beside Yin Jun. However, what Xia Jinxi didn't expect was that Yushi also followed them into the car, even though she only sat in the front passenger seat. The car drove out of the Yin family's manor. No one spoke in the car, only the sound of Yin Jun flipping through the documents, and Xia Jinxi clenched her small fists and stared at the woman in the front row with a small gaze. Even she herself did not notice why she suddenly felt unhappy toward a strange woman whom she had just met for the first time. She was clearly not someone who liked to make enemies with others. It was Yen Jun's elegant voice that broke the delicate atmosphere. "Where are you going?"